What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you an update on Baldur's Gate 3, which just recently announced patch 3 that went live yesterday from the time of this video. And given that that patch made literally thousands of alterations to the game, mostly aimed at bug fixes, I thought people might enjoy a nice recap of it, because while I certainly won't be going over every single change it makes, there are some general themes to keep in mind for this patch. For starters, though, this patch does mark the release of the game on Mac, so if you're playing on a Mac, the game is officially supported on that platform now. And this patch also brings one major feature to the game, which is the magic mirror that will allow you to change the appearance of your avatar character outside of the character creation screen. The magic mirror does come with a few caveats, however, mostly in who can use it and what can change. Your avatar character is the only person who can use it, but that has to be a custom avatar. If you're playing an origin character, they won't be able to change their appearance at all. And even if you're playing a custom character, you can't change literally everything. Your race, subrace, and body types won't be able to be adjusted. The mirror will also be unable to change, let's say, gameplay-oriented decisions. Things like using your tadpole powers and adjusting your appearance, or the loss of an eye, for instance, are not things that the magic mirror can fix. Outside of that, however, you can go to the magic mirror and change your appearance whenever, which, while not exactly game-defining, is nonetheless a welcome feature. Now, outside of that, before we start talking about some more granular things, this patch made a few adjustments to the difficulty of the difficulty modes. Mostly it made the easier versions of the game easier and the harder versions harder. That is to say, on Explorer mode, for instance, some enemies and bosses now just literally cannot crit you, making it exceedingly unlikely for them to deal more damage, etc. The more interesting changes to me, however, are what they did to Tactician mode. For several boss fights, they increased the HP of enemies as well as adjusting what they were capable of doing. In particular, the fight with Raphael that can happen saw a lot of adjustments, probably more so than anything else here, that on Tactician mode will likely ramp the difficulty of that fight up significantly. However, they also made changes like this to, for instance, the Act 2 end boss, the Avatar of Merkel, that saw a health increase and its ability to restore its health via a mechanic. And while I doubt any of those are really going to significantly alter the experience on that difficulty, it is nice to see the studio taking some steps to address the difficulty concerns that a lot of people, including myself, have presented. As for the quality of those changes, especially on Tactician, I will, for my 7th run, which is coming up soon, probably play the game on Tactician just to see exactly how much it affects the game, but again, definitely a step in the right direction. Then we have all sorts of performance increases. On release in particular, the later parts of the game really got hit by poor performance, FPS drops, that kind of thing, and they've been adjusting that. The last patch actually made significant improvements to the city of Baldur's Gate, which were effective. I personally saw a lot of improvement there on my 6th playthrough. I didn't have nearly as much trouble running around the city, and this patch continues that trend, making more and more optimizations to the lower city in particular that should make the game run that much better. Though, somewhat in the same vein, they also fixed and altered a lot of cinematics to fix just kind of slightly awkward things, such as clipping issues, etc. Though, speaking of improved performance, I want to wrap this up by just mentioning the sheer quantity of bug fixes that were in this. Again, I don't think literally thousands is an overestimation. I'll have the link to the patch notes down below, but it is a significant list. For the most part, I would say many of these are things nobody would have noticed or certainly wouldn't have impacted a playthrough by any means. A lot of it is just simply stuff like certain item combinations not working quite so, an item not granting an ability, fixing tooltips, that sort of thing. Some of these, however, are much more significant. For instance, now, almost no NPCs will run away from summons, etc. that you bring to the table, which will keep them from running around, which can certainly be annoying if you're trying to talk to a certain NPC without having to dismiss everything you've got summoned, etc., especially for classes that kind of revolve around that mechanic. Another big focus of a lot of these changes was fixing small continuity errors, a few characters mentioning something before you should know about it, or or characters mentioning things they shouldn't know in specific instances, things like that. And that's to say nothing of all the changes they made to the audio and fixing little things in the level design, such as items that were unreachable that you should have been able to interact with or loot, or just simply adjusting things for small line of sight changes in specific instances. All of which, again, not stuff I think I really need to go over in depth, but as an aggregate, are very impressive, and I think, while not exactly game-defining, they certainly make it that much more enjoyable for people who might have ran into these. Just reading through the list myself, I actually did see many things I ran into that got addressed that I didn't even really consider bugs, such as certain chests being empty when they shouldn't have been, that kind of thing. That said, that's pretty much going to do it for this video. I would say patch 3, while not exactly an exciting patch in terms of features, as the magic mirror is the main draw here, let's be honest, it is nonetheless a very important patch just because of the sheer amount of fixes that went into this, as I'm sure they will make many current and future playthroughs for various people a much smoother experience, allowing people to get that much more immersed. In any event, that's pretty much going to do it for today. I certainly hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. I will be covering more Baldur's Gate 3 in the future, of course, as I'm not quite done with it. I've got at least 4 more playthroughs to go, but more than anything, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.